what's going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the unreleased debut album by 50 Cent. Basically, this product is called Power of the Dollar, and it was supposed to come out in the summer of the year 2000. So the name of this particular product here is 50 Cent. Initially kind of came on the scene in like early mid-2000s as far as this first kind of particularly happened. He was signed to label, pitches like that. He had a career going within the pitch. Actually had the composition in the fair, getting like big names like Destiny's Child, Noriega, Bun B, the Mad Rapper, some of these particular type folks. Had an early kind of Red Spider beat, DJ Scratch, some folks like Trackmasters, DJ Scratch, some of those type folks. This probably would have been a pretty bona fide type album. Would have been a good surprise hit to have gotten pretty much, I would have said, pretty similar to like folks like Cannabis, and possibly like would have seemingly been similar to folks like Cannabis and Sticky Fingers, some of those type folks in particular. Just had a real NY type grit about it. Just really feels infused with like the city grime, was something that would have been pretty trendy. I think this definitely would have caught on. I think it probably would have been like a pretty good buzz album just from the pitch. It definitely reminds, it has traces of like some folks on here. There's some New York rappers that 1999, 2000, 50 Cent reminds me of, particularly of folks like Old Dirty Bastard, a little bit of Biggie in there, a little bit of Will Smith from like the Shiny Suit era pitches like that. So it just has some good concepts, like an amalgamation of some of those type folks, kind of like the sporadic kind of loose cannon typeness, Old Dirty Bastard, with like the typical kind of more like mafioso type vibe and this powerhouse type vibe of Biggie, with like the concept of a little bit of glitz and this kind of more commercial pop type rounds of Will Smith within some of those type pitches. So good type concept there. There's also like minor traces of Eminem from like the Slim Shady LP, so it's a pretty good pitch. And that 50 Cent had some similarities to Eminem as far back years before their particular collaborations and joint ventures kind of happened within the pitches behind it. So some good type conducts here. It's a real kind of commercial sin that this product is still not available for purchase just within the concept. There is at least an EP version, but a lot of the best songs in that particular EP are not on there. I mean, it at least has the 3 singles from that particular promotional run, but it needed like the whole thing. I definitely feel like by this particular stage, there's no reason for this album to not be released to market as far as it's supposed to happen. I'm surprised that 50 Cent has tried to put it out or something like that. It's just from the pitch. It is kind of like a virtual classic here. Out of the 17 songs on this particular product, there's really only 2 that I didn't recommend in any full-blown type fashion. Even those are not that super kind of terrible within the pitch behind it. So this is pretty much like within the, I mean, it's within the range of saying it's a notable debut, especially for like New York type rap within quieter eras. I mean, I think folks were more paying attention to DMX around this time. He was more on the scene, and a little bit left over of like Puff Daddy, some of those type folks, and Black Rob and Shine and some of those type folks. But I think this probably would have had some damage just because it has like the vanilla kind of value of like commercial rap with something that basically was kind of like a fusion of, like I was saying, like Old Dirty Bastard, Biggie, and Will Smith, some of those type folks. I think that amalgamation would have been on the scene pretty well. Now 50 Cent fleshed out a lot further with Get Rich or Die Trying. That's clearly the better effort, but I think the concept here, this is basically like 50 Cent's version of the Slim Shady LP. It's the same sort of concept. He has that same sort of witticisms, pitches like that same sort of concept, but just like the typical, this is kind of a more jangled type project within the pitch behind it. The same sort of style. Like I feel like 50 Cent on this particular album has similarities to Slim Shady within some of those type fares. Just a little bit more, not necessarily like prankster like, but within the pitch, like that relative type composition that Slim Shady kind of had in 1999. It's the same sort of pitch when you pay attention to songs like How to Rob and like other ones on here like You Ain't No Gangsta and like the Repercussions, some of those type of ones. It's pitches like that, you'd have to say, just within the pitch behind it. It just has a good composition, but this has some good skill sets of like songwriting on here as well. It's just kind of the pitch as far as saying it's pretty balanced within the concept. I was actually surprised at the pitch behind this particular album is it actually doesn't have a ton of dance club songs. Like when you think of 50 Cent from like his chart appeal days, like Disco Inferno, and If I Can't, and In the Club, and some of those type of ones, PIMP, some of those classic type ones that you would think of within those pitches, I Get Money, some of those type pitches that he had throughout the 2000s. This is kind of within the pitch as far as saying that you do get the songwriting on here. It's a little bit more kind of basically like the Slim Shady LP where 50 Cent was kind of crafting like an album that just had a lot more balance and just the capabilities of having being like a bankable musician more so than just a 1 or 2 hit wonder. So that was kind of fleshed out. This is the fact that he got to the 3rd single just on his first album that was unreleased just in the format. So it's a good pitch, just the composition, how this particularly kind of happened, just in the tone. So yeah, within the concept, basically you would think only not recommending 2 songs out of like 17 would be a 10 out of 10. But within the pitch that there are at least 2 almost songs on top of that, so it's really 13 out of 17 I recommend, which would still virtually, which is basically like a 9.25 out of 10. But it's actually going to get a little bit higher because 2 of those are almost songs within the pitch. So it's just kind of the concept. Yeah, the aspect behind this album is pretty severe within the pitch behind. So it's just kind of the pitch, very similar to Eminem's Infinite, some of those type fairs and the concepts behind some of those type ones. There's another Eminem project I'm thinking of, the Slim Shady EP, that's pretty difficult to get a hold of. This is just a lot sketchier. 50 Cent. It's just kind of the concept that he found his sound. This is before the shooting. I want to say for the most part, it seems like that. I think the composition. I think he had the album complete. I think that was kind of the concept. He got shot 9 times, as that particular furor that happened throughout 2003 when he was on the scene. That was one of the big things about 50 Cent back in the Get Rich or Die Trying days, was the fact that he got shot 9 times within the fair, as far as saying that he was someone that survived a particular onslaught within that appeal. Huge unfortunate aspect there within the pitch, but this is kind of before that, where he just sounded a little bit more hungrier and just more sketchier within the pitch behind it. But it's just kind of the concept. There are some traces of just the concept of what particularly went on, some of the early bird type sounds, and some of this has like some DJ drama type styles, just the composition of mixtape type format. This is before 50 Cent kind of revolutionized the mixtape scene as well, with like some of those type ones like God's Plan and some of those type mixtapes. 50 Cent to feature some of those type ones. But there are songs on here like Ghetto Koran. I'm not full bound sure how to pronounce that one. Koran's kind of a difficult name, but I just look after it. There's some good compositions of like, it's setting off like the mixtape type format of like the early 2000s, and also doing like some chart appeal type songs. The song with Destiny's Child, which was Beyonce kind of in her Destiny's Child prime, so some bitches like that playing in good moments. This pretty much like a hot ticket of a project as far as this fair is going to happen. This really a primer for a lot of things that were going to happen this within the coming years within the pitch behind this, between like the East Coast mixtape scene, and then like the scene that 50 Cent was getting ready to get to, just the upcoming Eminem scene where Eminem was kind of in his early stages. So there's just a lot of fairs. It's a good amalgamation. This is pretty good primer for project. So just be able to say, certain folks would feel like 50 Cent in his early days. This would be certain folks that would feel like 50 Cent in his early days is the best 50 Cent. I do feel like I don't have a problem with Curtis. That's pretty much a classic as well. Before I Self-Destruct's pretty excellent. Some of those type ones I don't have a problem with later on 50 Cent, but this is definitely pretty severe type project in terms of quality. So just to say, the debut 50 Cent single that he put out was How to Rob. It's a good nice one here. This is on the actual this particular song is on the actual released EP that came out. So like I was saying, there is a purchasable EP that is of this particular product that has the 3 singles and then 2 extra songs on there, one of which is only on that EP, but another of which is from this particular product. But I look after here, How to Rob is like a nice New York buzz hop jangle to kind of get here, just an East Coast version like My Name Is by Eminem. It's a good pitch for that, and this has some good bounce spots. So just a basic bop within the pitch behind this noisemaker, kind of within the commotion about it, just easy kind of vanilla kind of dance hop, something that probably would have been like a simple kind of promo type single, just an initial kind of buzz start, some of those type pitches, just within the concept of it. That's kind of the concept behind My Name Is, just an introductory type song, just within a particular pitch as far as 50 Cent is kicking things off. It was a nice touch to get the Mad Rapper from like the Biggie albums and the Bad Boy label as far as those particular pitches can happen within that fair. So just a good aspect here to be able to have that composition. This makes a lot of commotion within the aspect behind it, so it's good type tones for some of that, and just a good overall dance hop and buzz single. Thug Love is the second single. This is another nice one here. This has Destiny's Child on the hook. Basically, Beyonce doing her thing within the concept. I always question why Beyonce never really did a song with 50 Cent. I guess that she did do a song with 50 Cent, and this happened way back when in like the late 90s as far as those pitches can happen. So it's a good type tone within the concept of it. This is basically like a summer fried type one, easy kind of hit for that. It's like a dope kind of suave summer evening gaze kind of get here, just some summer evening gaze flavor. I'd have to say about this one. It's an early bird taste of what 50 Cent would do later on within some of those type pitches. So it's just kind of a concept. There are some of these moments on like the 50 Cent mixtapes from 2002, some of those basic kind of pool party and spring break type jangles within the pitch behind, but just this one's a little bit more simmering, a little bit more romantic within the fare behind it. Just more typical type fare of like this sunset type aspect within the pitch behind it, this pink skies pitches like that. I'd say a good concept for some of that type particular. Feels like a rap kind of crossover that Destiny's Child probably would have done on like their 2004 album. So this is a good primer for some of that particular type pitch. Just the concept. There weren't a ton of like concepts where you would get like rap songs with like an R&B singer on the hook around this particular time. I mean, Tupac was kind of doing it with like Casey and Jojo around this particular time, and Roger Troutman, some of those particular type folks, but for the most part, apart from like the semi-occasional, Biggie had R. Kelly around that particular time, but it didn't super commonly. That was kind of like an early bird, like I want to say prior to about 95, 96, there wasn't a ton of like getting R&B singers on the hooks as full bound within the pitch. So just those particular fusions were starting to happen. This is a good example of saying Destiny's Child can kind of do some of those just because Destiny's Child wasn't as full bound. And like when you think within the pitch, I can't think of as many folks that featured Destiny's Child back in 98, 99 when they were first fresh on the scene as far as those first gonna happen. So it's good type pitch, good snag, but just the unfortunate thing is this album never came out, so you never really got the full blown get the extended song. This probably would have been a pretty nice buzz single to have gotten. I think this probably would have had some decent chart appeal, and it's the same thing with How to Rob. Basically, just like it's like the New York version of Eminem, I'd have to say. This would have been a pretty good pop rap type tune to have gotten. Then Your Life's on the Line is the third single, and this is more typical. I want to say this was on Get Rich or Die Trying. I've heard this song before. I don't remember which album. I think it was either, it might have been The Massacre, it might have been Get Rich or Die Trying, it might have been Beg for Mercy or one of the G Unit mixtapes from 2002, but I've heard this song in the past. Fairly certain it was Get Rich or Die Trying, one of those type fairs, but this reminds of like a contemplative kind of schizo Eminem moments I'd have to say within some of those type pitches, some of those type fairs, just on songs like Kill You and like Kim and some of those particular type moments, just the concept of that contemplation where he just feels a little bit more manic. Songs like Stan, some of those type moments just within the fair, like some of those manic type moments where he would kind of be just kind of wigging out within some of those type pitches where you'd be like, what the hell's going on, some of those type fairs. So it's just the concept that 50 Cent had that particular appeal. This is one of those type songs that feels pretty similar to like Old Dirty Bastard and a little bit of Ready to Die Biggie within some of those type fairs behind. So it's good type fair for that. It's kind of a manic outing kind of get here. So it's just in the pitch. Now in the past, I want to say I probably didn't recommend this song as much, but I do appreciate the value of it now. Just understanding the concept of it just being a more schizo type song, just within the format. It is kind of more kind of contemplative kind of songwriting that just switches like the angle as far as not trying to have some chart appeal. So this is just more New York type grime, just with a more kind of manic type episode just within the pitch as far as talking about being out on the town, but just within the concept of just like big city type grime about it. So it's basically like once again getting some New York flavor, just some of those type moments of like more folks like Tupac and Eminem and Tech Nine, some of those type folks are pretty good with those contemplative type ones. So it's just more personal within the pitch behind it. I mean, it's more of like a grime type song by the song of the topic, but just the pitch, it just kind of has the aspect of a little bit, not necessarily a dance club song or a song for the ladies or a car song, something like that, just kind of amidst like the city. Now, I would have to say about this particular album, this is really like, I would have to say like New York City living to like a T. When you think of like the way that like Grand Theft Auto, some of those type pitches just kind of capitalized on that particular format throughout like the 2000s, some of those type fairs, that particular scene, just when New York living and huge scenes like that were particularly huge between things like Fast and the Furious, Grand Theft Auto, some of those type pitches that just came on the scene in like 2000, just the city hops, some of those particular type fairs, just like things like that, Midnight Club, some of those type pitches within the tone behind us, just kind of aspect like that, typical kind of New York type fashion. 50 Cent was like a good candidate for that. This album more so than like Get Rich or Die Trying. Get Rich or Die Trying was definitely like a capital kind of banner kind of 2000s kind of rap album, but this particular one just had like the New York grit of just kind of like a hustler on the come up just throughout like the late 90s, early 2000s. So this is just kind of the pitch of having that particular initial type movements. That as far as those fairs would kind of happen is the pitch of like the New York grime, just with like a little bit of like the shine of like a little bit of commercial gloss, but mostly with the aspect of just trying to it's just the concept of like the real context of Get Rich or Die Trying, just without the album theme as far as this pitch gonna happen, or at least without just the real context and composition of like Get Rich or Die Trying, just without that album title on this particular album as far as this first gonna happen. But basically the concept of it here is on here plenty of times. I'm a hustler, How to Rob, Money by Any Means, The Repercussions, Your Life's on the Line, some of these type ones, The Hit, Gun Runner, some of these type pitches, just the product of like just the symbol kind of NY kind of grime type living within the pitch. It's a good aspect of like an evolution of the Wu-Tang type sound within some of that Max Payne, Midnight Club, Grand Theft Auto kind of format within some of those type pitches. Just to say, I mean, basically, you know, when you think of other type vibes, when you think of movies like Pulp Fiction, some of those type ones, you could think of movie type formats, but within a more kind of casual type aspect, when you think of like PlayStation vibes, the MTV VH1 type vibes, so that particular pitch that, you know, is throughout the 2000s, it's just a fair within that particular aspect. So some good type tones for that. But yeah, so all the songs that are on here I recommend, minus two songs, which the only two songs I don't recommend would just be Corner Bodega, Coke Spot, and then Gun Runner. So to talk about these, basically Corner Bodega was just kind of a concept. This is a little bit more hop to it within a sense. It's kind of that city grime, just with an aspect a little bit more kind of. Corner Bodega is just a little bit more of like a pep type song kind of get within those pitches, just a little bit more hop to it within the fair behind it, but just the composition of it, I just felt like the aspect of like the get up and get forth, get some money within the pitch was just, I mean, there are some ones that motivate a little bit better, like I'm a hustler, you ain't no gangsta, some of those type ones, but this is just kind of a I'm a hustler, you ain't no gangsta, some of those type ones, but that was just kind of a particular one that just didn't have the jump is full bound. I mean, it's one, but it's just the concept that if you're not within that particular mode and mood to kind of get out and hop to it, it's just within the pitch didn't have as much affability. And it's the same thing with gun running. Now, this is a little bit more of like a pawn shop kind of mingle within the pitch, just a little bit more grime within the sense of just kind of more sludgy type days within the commerce of this city kind of trafficking pitches like that, just within the tone behind it. But it's just kind of the tone as far as saying that without that concept of this going to places like pawn shops or shopping within the aspect of just like some dealerships, some of that type fair, just the concept of just a little bit more social in mind. If it's not within a mingle type song, it's not really like a dance club song, not really like a stunt song, lady song, some of those type pitches, just floss type songs, some of those type fairs get torched, some of those type fairs get tore up just within the pitch behind. So it's just kind of concept without that particular composition. If you're not just going with the in between, it's not like it's a bad song, it's just within the pitch that it's just often it's just a more seldom type song within the pitch behind. It's a little bit more of like a mingle type song where you're gonna have to kind of gab a bit within the tone behind it. So it's just kind of the tone. It works for what it is, but I just don't see the commonplace of I just don't see the commonplace of oftenness of listening to some of these within the pitch, but it's just kind of the concept there. That's just kind of the pitch behind it. But yeah, I'd give this out. I'm gonna give this out basically, 13 songs out of 17 I recommend on here, plus 2 almost songs, which would be Power of the Dollar and You Ain't No Gangsta. So the pitch behind that, basically 14 and a half out of 17 are basically 13 and a half. 13 out of 17 plus 13 out of 17 plus 2 almost songs, which would be 15 out of 17. This album's going to get a 9.5 out of 10. Social score would probably get approximately around that. We'll get to the social score. But basically, just some of these on here, like some of these real nice ones, like Ghetto Coron, Forgive Me is a real highlighted one on here. That's like a vintage kind of early bird taste of like 2000s kind of mixtape soul to kind of get just a DJ drama taste as far as those fairs can have. And just good aspect, just an early bird type one, real initial type primer and a highlighted type one to kind of get within those aspects. Just basically like a DJ drama mixtape, some of those type pitches. Also feels like songs like Best Friend off of the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack, some of those type pitches. 50 Cent was pretty good at these mixtape type soul type songs. This was before Jay-Z's The Blueprint, so it's just a good type pitch to kind of say that 50 Cent had a heads up on this way back in 1999. So I can't think of a ton of real mixtape soul type songs that were doing this sort of chipmunk soul and DJ drama type flavor before like The Blueprint in this particular product. So it's a good aspect just thinking that 50 Cent had that much of a heads up years before even The Blueprint came out. So it's a good type pitch to be able to get that here. This probably would have been a very damaging album within the pitch with more songs like Ghetto Coron, good example. Material Girl is a nice one as well. It's like a white collar kind of get together commotion dazzle kind of have within those aspects. It's a good It's like some good skyscraper living kind of fun to kind of get within those particular tones about. So this kind of a composition of something like this particular song has the composition of something like Robin Thicke and Mariah Carey, Mary J. Blige, Genuine, some of those type folks who kind of do within those aspects. Neo even I'd have to say within the aspect just a little bit more of like a get together where it's going to be hors d'oeuvres, some of those type pitches. It's not necessarily like a ballroom type one within a pitch, but just something where there'd probably be appetizers, some of those type pitches, punch bowls, some of those particular type fairs, just a concept like some standard kind of mingle, just a little bit more gracefulness about it. It's more coworker type fair or SFW type census with a little bit more high up white collar typeness about it within the pitch. So it's good type tone. It's good mingle for like a more bougie type bell within the pitch as far as those fairs can have a good type tone. The Good Die Young is a quality one as well. It's like a nice lofty kind of city commerce kind of get here. Definite song to smoke a couple to. I'd say some jovial kind of cruise around and just some good outs about that one. The Good Die Young is a particular production fair that I think I've heard before in the past as far as those fairs can happen, but just real nice lofty type one. Definitely goes with some further mixtape soul like some of those pitches like Ghetto Coron and Material Girl, some of those type fashion. So it's just some good soulful type taste. Pretty similar to like the War Angel LP I'd say within those pitches just years before that, decade before that one particularly kind of came out. So a good type pitch to kind of have some of that gracefulness that 50 Cent has other sides of the coin as far as those fairs going to have within the tones. Slow Doe is a nice one as well. It's like an in-between kind of commute moments kind of get here. It just reminds of like some gusty travel I'd had to say from like the Get Rich or Die Trying movie soundtrack with the pitches like that and the Get Rich or Die Trying movie. Good type fairs for that. Just some moves. It's kind of a move around type song within the pitch behind it. So just kind of more in between just within the pitch of some of that type fair. Just errand running pitches like that. Not so much talking as much as just more walk the walk type music more so than talk the talk kind of within the tone. Just getting some tasks done. Some of that type fair. Just wrapping things up. Responsibilities being taken care of. It's kind of concept of a standard grit type song, just a little bit more motivated within the pitch behind it, in like a more steadfast kind of sense. So it's good type tone. That Ain't Gangsta is a quality one as well. It's like a basic kind of buzz single. It had to say just a dance club kind of kickstart. I would feel like here just initial kind of noisemaker from 50 as far as this first gonna happen. So I'd say apart from the song How to Rob, this is really like the only other dance club type song within the pitch. 50 Cent did not really get to that as full bound within the pitch behind it. So this is what I was saying before with the pitch of like typical type ones like PIMP and Disco Inferno and Disco Inferno just a little bit, some of those type pitches, and like Out of Control remix, some of those particular type fares, just within the aspect here as far as those particular fares gonna go. But it's just a good concept, get like that basic buzz hop, just a good commotion, kind of get some drinks rattled as far as those fares gonna happen. Just basic kind of rump shaker, percolate as far as those fares gonna happen. Not full bound kind of carnage, but enough to kind of get like the basic percolate. Not full bound kind of carnage, but enough to get like the basic percolate type moments kind of get within the aspect behind it. So some good type fares. There's a couple of Miss the City type tunes gonna get within these pitches here. One of which is I'm a Hustler. This reminds of like NY mixtape grid of like 2002 from 50 Cent. Like 50 Cent is to feature some of those type mixtapes that he put out in 02 and like 2005 and 2005's The Massacre as far as those first gonna have in pitches like that. Some of those type ones like a Baltimore Love Thing and some of those type pitches within some of those type flares. Just typical ones like that. Ski Mask Way, some of those particular type fares. Just basic kind of city pep, I'd say, and good song to toke to as far as those first gonna happen. So just kind of a bounce in your steps, some of that particular type fare, just out and about within the city, embellished as far as those tones gonna happen. Just good type fare for that. It's a product like the city type romps, some of that type fare. And another one within those aspects would be the repercussions. It's like a nice city commerce on like the upgrade tip as far as this first gonna happen. Just noticing that things are improving within the pitch behind it. Some good type fares for that. Just Avengers gonna NY grime. I'd say just some sludgy outs as far as this first gonna happen. And then to get to some of these almost songs here, I'll talk about these kind of out of order. But the almost song would be You Ain't No Gang. One of the almost songs would be You Ain't No Gangsta. It's like a throwback to early mid. You Ain't No Gangsta is like a throwback to early and mid 90s kind of NY. I'd have to say here, just reminds me of this one particular reminds me of like Biggie and Wu-Tang kind of John Sparrows first gonna happen. So just a basic city hop, just kind of weaving throughout the typical town fair as far as those pitches kind of happen. This hot dog, glizzy type music within the pitch behind the subway, some of those type pitches, just kind of smokage, snack runs, pitches like that particular type fair. It's kind of a miss like the big city pizzazz, this typical kind of gab and socializes within the pitch behind us, and good fraternizes within the aspect of this like typical kind of NY living, just within the fair behind it, just kind of used to like more big city grime and sludges and the aspects as far as those fairs going to go. So just good commerce. I think that this is a good aspect of something. It's kind of embrace that particular type fair. I mean, this is ground level enough within the pitch, just like the conduct behind some of this, not high up to the point where it just is penthouse type music and just loftiness, but it's kind of the concept, but just like the more on foot kind of amidst like the city type fair within it. Some of these are pretty commercial type grabs going to get for those aspects as far as like a vanilla kind of NY type album for like 1999 2000. So it's a good type pitch because DMX kind of had some of that, but he was just a little bit more high octane with the pitch. So it's just a good concept kind of get some of that here. Power of the Dollar, the title tracks and they're almost songs like a heroin kind of typical city after work dredge kind of get here. Just the usual long day gripes as far as those pitches kind of happen. So yeah, just typical kind of long day gripes as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just kind of one that just feels the stretch like the burn of like a typical kind of long day's work as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just kind of the aspect, just a little bit of relief within the aspect, just more sunset gaze type music, but just the concept of just having that grit and grind as far as those aspects kind of go, but just kind of a relief of just like a relative day within those aspects. Just kind of a breather of a song. Good type fare for that. So it's good type pitch there. The hit is a quality one within those aspects as well as like a nice lofty kind of hotel steam to kind of get here. Just some robe type music I'd have to say. Just an embellish and kind of money move type move. Some money move type moments kind of get here within some money move type moments kind of get within those fares, but and it's like good for some cruises as far as those pitch kind of have. So it's just kind of the concepts of similar type ones like Material Girl, but just a little bit more relaxation in mind within the pitch behind it, a little bit more vacation in mind. Is kind of the concept of just kick back within the sense of just like recreation, but just kind of the pitch of like recreation, but kind of within the pitch of being put on to the point where it's not just like kind of just some recreation type moments within the pitch, but just not to the point of just getting by as far as those fairs can happen. Just kind of the composition, just like comfortable type aspects of like some good time off as far as those fairs are going to happen. So it's good type tone. And I would say Make Money by Any Means, another quality one as well. It's like a basic kind of neighborhood on the scene. I'd have to say here, just some night outs I'd say about this particular fair. Just good for snack runs, pitches like that. Some errand system and pitch like late type fair. So it's a good aspect here just be able to get some of that. It's kind of more amidst the city. It's kind of the pitch of just songs like I would say like Your Life's on the Line and like like Power of the Dollar, but just a little bit more jangled within the concept of just having some energy about it. Not quite as relaxed or more unwind aspect, but just kind of a mix, like still got some stuff to do, just in a more kind of concept, but like a traditional kind of grit of like some New York grime, but just in the aspect of this kind of city weaving within the relative recreational sense. So it's just kind of the tone about it. Typical kind of NY big city living as far as what's fair is going to happen. So I think I've talked about every song in here as far as what's fair is going to happen. So yeah, this particular album gets a 9.5 out of 10. The social score I'll go ahead and give probably like a 9.5 out of 10 as well. I would give it a higher score within the pitch, but the availability behind this album is just not there. I think you can probably just download these songs to this stage. I don't think 50 Cent would get pissed off if he did that within the tone. It seems like within Commonplace it probably wouldn't happen. So it's basically like getting these songs for free, and it is worthwhile. Like I've been saying, this product's pretty worthwhile. It's just basically like an impactful type one. This is an amalgamation of folks like Eminem, Will Smith, Old Dirty Bastard, Biggie, some of those type compositions. Just a very vanilla kind of late 90s, early 2000s kind of New York album that just had the pitch of just nailing some things and just kind of setting the train tracks for later on works. Helping out with like the mixtape scene of the 2000s, helping out with like becoming eventually like a giant like the New York kind of mainstream rap scene, some of those type fairs, just initializing some commercial rap type songs, getting some dance club jumps on there to the pitch, getting some dance club jumps on there to the pitch of getting like more R&B type songs with a little bit more rap type flavor within the pitch of kind of fusing some of those. Not like that particular song takes, not like Thug Love takes full blown kind of responsibility, but it was around this particular time that both Beyonce and 50 Cent blew up. So it's kind of within the pitch of some. It's not like Thug Love was full bound responsible for like the shape shiftiness of how that particularly happened, but it was within the concept that basically R&B kind of became a lot more contemporary around late 2002, 2003, around the same time 50 Cent blew up. So it's just been the pitch of the composition. A lot of these trend-setting type ones, I think 50 Cent did have some things that have to do with this. So it's just been fair. This is a bigger album than like the importance, like the acclaim that it got. So it's just been the pitch as far as saying 9.5 score, 9.5 social within the pitch. Just the only unfortunate thing about it is just the fact, I mean, for the most part, it just nails like this particular NY type grime type living within a commercial kind of banner type sense. Not commercial where it's a sellout, but just good type pitch for getting some of that vanilla kind of easy to digest type flavor about it. It's just the tone. But I would look after it. It's just the availability is not there, but I think this album is just available for free, so I just would get it that way if it's not a big deal within that pitch. This is a tone. So in terms of the future, like 50 Cent's pretty much done with music. He's got some movies and television going on with pitches like that. He has his own television channel, some of those type fairs. He's making business with he's been making business with like folks like Stars or just folks like that, some of those type folks within the particular Stars, the movie brand, as far as this first gonna happen. It's just within the tone. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna get to some of these albums here, like Animal Ambition, some of those type ones in particular. It's just the aspect behind it. Some good type conics about this. This is like a virtual classic here, definitely impactful. Just a real disappointment. The only disappointment about it is that it's not available for sale, but just within the pitch, it's pretty just aspect of one that I would definitely fuck with. This within the tone definitely has a lot of appeal about it.